the state of the nation, the renewed call for restructuring Nigeria. You agree with me that the call has been here for restructuring, but now as it is, as we're having a free fall of naira, high cost of food commodities in the market, things, negative things happening in the country, there has been a renewed call for restructuring of Nigeria. But the question is, the leaders, are they going to hit to this call? That's the question. And then again, if we restructure Nigeria at the end of the day, will it solve all our problems? These and many more are what we'll be exploring on our show this morning. Good morning, Anambra. And we have our guests already seated with us right here in the studio this morning. We have Ifeanyi Ogunewunam. He is a public affairs analyst. Glad to have you on the show this morning.
A pleasure being here. Anambra and Nigerians at large. I think if we can heed to each other's call, clarion call at this hour, and then declare a national day for the confession of our sins, I think we'll start from there first, because we must have to be convicted that we are responsible. We, in quote.
I think this should have come at the end of the show, like as an advice. Why are you bringing it up now?
Yes, you start early enough to start shouting. Because water don't pass, Gary.
All right. We also have Kanayo Obidibo. He's also a public affairs analyst. Glad to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year, I think, for once more. I think this is my first time.
Yeah. Okay, this is the first time we are meeting here on air. Okay, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm sitting here with my colleague, Adjumachukwu Okabwe.
Well, Anambra, let us really talk and, get to find solutions to our problems, because whether you like it or not, Nigeria is for us all, and we need to make the best out of it.
Exactly. We need to make the best out of our country. So without much ado, let's start with you, Ifeanyi. This concept of restructuring, what does it actually mean to you? And then, why do you think that we have a renewed attention to that? I mean, the call for restructuring right now in the country.
Well, Chinua Achebe once said that he who doesn't submit to anything will one day submit to his own grave. The first question, like I do ask Professor Jaja Nwanebu, my friend in Nanda Azikiwe University, a professor of political science, and I do ask him, is Nigeria really a federated state? Are we really a federation? And each time I ask him that question, he will laugh, take a deep breath, and say, and I ask him, teacher, don't teach us nonsense. Because what we have in practice, and even in our constitution, is a unitary policy, a unitary constitution in a federated state. So when you put a square peg in a round hole, here we are. And I strongly believe that he who doesn't know his father is not entitled to any inheritance. So we are in a default system. We are, even everything about the country is in default. So it's not a question of restructuring, it's a question of identifying where we got it totally wrong. Totally wrong. There is no state in Nigeria who cannot survive. I used to say that before, but having taken a critical look, in the north, they are blessed with solid minerals. They refuse to bring it to the general pool for everybody to enjoy. Rather, it's an exclusion, it's their personal property. But the south and southeast that have few quantity of gas and crude oil are being milked. So there is a default somewhere. We identify the default first before we talk about restructuring. Because you only restructure a building or an institution where the foundation is correct. In this case, we have a faulty foundation. Our constitution is just like a basket that can never fetch water. If you read a particular clause, before you get to IJ, it has by itself invalidated the other parts of it. A typical example is the issue about taxation. That who doesn't contribute to the general purse is allowed to administrate the ones that others contributed. Even in clubs, it's not done. But for the interest of a select few, I don't want to quote the governor's name, that caused this crisis. And somebody was told that even if you don't have tax clear, even if you have not been paying your tax, and all the stories about that. Then you come down also to the issue about the qualification for you to attain certain positions in Nigeria, where we are told WAEC or its equivalent, where the equivalent is never defined. So you cannot at any point in time use one law or one stand to measure for 3 persons. Our lawyers and judiciaries has now left the interpretation by law to interpretation from their head. You know, where 2 judgments on a similar issue or exactly the same issue vary. So you begin to ask yourself, where are we really at? Because you must know where the issues are coming from.
All right. I would like to explain that restructuring, its simplest term is to reorganize differently.
Reorganize?
Yes, differently.
You have to define those who will constitute the people before you start reorganizing them. Because you cannot bring 2 unfamiliar bedmates together and expect them to survive.
All the process, we still call it restructuring.
Okay, all the process. Okay, so from constitutional to economic to political to, are we there? Because I know that the last confab we were told that some areas are not touchable. Then you begin to ask yourself, if some areas are excluded, then what are we here doing?
I asked you your own definition of what restructuring is all about, and you said that it's not about restructuring, it's starting from the root of the matter.
We need to identify
what actually
we identify the problem,
right,
then
okay.
We start finding a surname to it.
All right, thank you so much. Kanayo, do you also, join in his own opinion, saying that it's not all about restructuring? Some people are saying that Nigeria is already a failed state, and it's not just about restructuring, just like he rightly said here. Now, if it's not about restructuring, then so what specific changes or reform do you think we need in this country to change things for better?
You see, I think we had a constitution that gave all the region status to develop, on their own. That constitution that was amended or either
it was jettisoned, not amended. It was jettisoned.
Okay.
It was thrown to the dustbin.
So it was actually by the khaki guys. They came in, suspended the constitution that has only operated for 6 years as at the time, and then decided to, use their powers to amend by your word, gestion, or abrogate and then abolish and come up with their own version of constitution, and which always say we Nigerians, have agreed to do this. When we have not agreed, there was no confab.
We never sat to discuss, not to agree.
So now, like you rightly said, there are some institutions, there are some people who looked at Nigeria and was forecasting of Nigeria to become a failed state. And we were like, no, how can Nigeria be a failed state when we had all the money in the world, we had all the minerals? Nigeria cannot fail. But are we not seeing it playing out? Our own dear writer said there was a country. Was there no country? Because there was a country where when you finish from the university, a job is waiting.
Even those in secondary school certificates,
okay.
They are gainfully employed.
I remember the 5 army guys from Federal Government College, students from Federal Government College who were actually recruited from the college to become army officers in Nigeria. First class students amongst them, Colonel Anwuna, Colonel Madebo, Colonel Nwobos, all those that became colonel in Nigerian army. They were like 19, leaving the school to become army officers. They went to Sandhurst. So there was a country, there is need for a structure. Because we can see the lopsidedness of how Nigeria is trying to become Venezuela. Whether we like it or not, Nigeria is actually stepping into the Venezuela position because they had oil, or they have oil, just like Nigeria is having oil. If we have a champion, we have a president who said he's a champion, who wants to make the Guinness Book of Record for having the guts, having the effortry to come and remove fuel subsidy in his first day. Are you trying to operate on an economy without anesthesia? So the country is bleeding. Nigeria is bleeding now. Demonstration is going all over the places. And you think that the country is, like you rightly said, when you ask few of them who have cornered our commonwealth, they believe that Nigeria is working. Nigeria is working. Look at the banking sector, what we are hearing now, or even before now. We all know that banking sector in any country determines the economy. Look at flotation of Naira. So are we talking about the economy? Are we talking about other sectors that are not functioning? Security. Section 16 of Nigerian Constitution gives the state, give us the right to be protected both in shelter, both in food, and the rest of them. Section 16. But is it now working? It is not. And when you look at our leaders, there appears that if nothing is happening, not that Nigerians are happy, then I have to blame the electorate. I have to blame the Nigerian people. Whether we like it or not, we are the cause. We are the cause, basically. Because if you go, look at what is happening in Senegal today. Someone said postpone the election, and then they went everywhere. I lived in Senegal when Ablaye Wade came up. Okay? After struggle for 40 years, he became the president at 75. But it was a peaceful, and then subsequently, other presidents come in. But this one tried to manipulate, like we had the third term manipulation. And they said no, the people. And now he's trying to pacify and trying to put a new date for an election to be, conducted. So what are we trying? The people. Nigerian people, I don't see the civil society. I've been looking forward to see the Letterren assemblyman who was, said Nigeria do this at where was I?
Tunde Bakari.
Tunde Bakari. I'm seeing them. I've not seen them to come out at the Liberty Squares of Lagos to protest this hardship. It is something to.
Let me come to you, when we're talking about restructuring Nigeria, you first of all need to restructure the mindset of the people, because you talked about people being in secondary school and then employment coming to them.
Yes.
People coming fresh out of the university,
yes,
and being colonels straight into the Nigerian, yes, military. This happened in this country.
Yes.
Yes.
So why is it not happening now?
Very good.
Is it the same government that we're talking about, or the people that in general?
And these people, the present people in this present administration, enjoyed all
these facilities.
So now, what is
I would like to take you down the memory lane.
Please do.
I can remember as a NANS activist then in the university, I challenged my VC when he was putting over 10 persons in one room.
Okay.
And as director of special duty then University of Benin, I asked one vital question. I said, sir, it's recorded that the first ever recorded protest in the Nigerian university was the issue of a full chicken being shared into half in the cafeteria. The man was looking at me. And I asked the second question. I said, sir, I remember that this same room was meant for 2 persons. Hence, the cupboard there was for 2. I asked the third question. What has happened development-wise on the same room you are trying to put 2 people? You are trying to put 8 persons inside. And the man got infuriated. And I summed it up by telling him that I know that your community sent you to the university. Here you are, increasing the school fees. So, like he rightly said, there was a constitution that was properly crafted by the people. Put me. By the people. Not by me, Okekadibo, or a collection of friends who sat in one room and cooked the so-called constitution and fostered it on us. Nigerians never made the constitution.
And it was not made in their best interest.
Of course they did.
So when you say we the people, it's a lie. You don't build on nothing and expect it to start. That's the axiom of law. So we don't have a constitution as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
And that same constitution has been amended, re-amended, modeled and remodeled. So that's why I'm running away from the word called restructuring. Because it has been
adequately made mess of. When you say restructure, then somebody will look at one place that he has interest in and go and screw it in the name of restructure. I am not interested in restructuring. I am interested in the nucleus, the bedrock upon which, the foundation upon which the nationhood which should be built, and that is the Constitution. The Constitution as we speak today is at variance with all the laws you can think of. And we say that when there is superiority, the superiority of Constitution says that the Constitution is the grand norm. And I tell you, go and pick the Constitution, pick the Electoral Act, you see the variance. So these are issues. What type of governance do we want to practice? Let's define it. Who and who should be called Nigerian? It must be defined. It must be defined by the same people. I want to be a part. I don't want to be a part. If I must be a part, this is my conditions for becoming a part. Na ni igbo na agon na inwe right isi nna gị jebe kan jebe na agon na.
But the point
So you can't tie everybody together. So if we are talking about the word restructuring, if the word restructuring, my interest is on the bedrock. If a foundation is faulty, it can never stand.
So, in other words, are you saying that we need to have a new constitution?
We need a constitution.
absolutely. Absolutely. Otherwise, we revert. If we will be able to revert and properly, because of the essence of time now, amend it.
Amend what?
No, listen.
There's a way you patch a tire, it cannot even carry you from here to there.
What I'm trying to say is that the Constitution, like all American, articles, laws, are subject to amendment.
Yes.
So
when it's properly defined from the origin.
So it is properly to amendment. And so far, I don't think they've had about more than 14, 15 amendments.
In 170 years.
Yes. So you must amend.
I agree.
Because over time, there should be changes.
I agree.
But the point remains that until we now see ourselves as one Nigeria.
Nigeria.
No, a country where there's no equal opportunity. Americans said equal opportunity. But in this country, there's no equal opportunity. For instance, if an Easterner or from the Westerner goes to North to work, is on contract.
In the same country?
In the same country. You are on contract. When they turn out their own graduates, they will let you go. But it doesn't happen that way in any nation that is a federation. We are talking about federation. If Nigeria is actually federating and believe in one nationhood, Nigeria should be treated the same way. State of origin should be abolished. Mm-hmm. There is no state of origin in America.
Religion.
You understand what I'm saying? State of origin. Why would that state of origin come up in any form? Then, federal character. What are you federal character? When you know that if I am in Sokoto as a lecturer, I am imparting the same knowledge to the Hausa guys there. Okay? If you are a lecturer in Anambra and you are from Argungu, that does not make you an Hausa man. We are talking about your knowledge, what we are trying to, pack to us here. So not until we come back to believe that if Nigeria is one, that is 37 now, because it is 36 plus Abuja, it's now 37. We are not one. So until we believe that this is one country, by the regional level then, you saw how the four
healthy rivalry.
You see, they were doing their thing. Opera was here looking into agriculture and it was booming. There was no oil. Nobody found oil there. Then the Hausas are doing their pyramid, their groundnut and everything. The Western region are doing their cocoa and build the cocoa house. Before Midwest was carved out and Asalebe came in. So what are we trying to say? Not until we go back to that basics and look at ourselves. When they now removed the motion for our independence, it wasn't doing that for a particular section of people. They now receive from where? It's from the present Edo State. So those foremost Nigerians who were nationalists, who were Pan-Africanists, who were interacting with their there are sub-regional heads that all of them met in the school somewhere in America and came back to fight colonialism. But today, are we able to fight neo-colonialism? No. That is the issue. The issue is interest of our people who are not patriotic.
I think, Kanayo, I think we might still delve into a little bit of this thing, because I think part of the reason why we are where we are, still not deciding on whether to restructure or not, is that ignorance and illiteracy is really holding the bunch in much of those people that are holding the corridors of power.
Is it
ignorance or
self-interest? You know what?
I don't agree.
You know what? Nigeria is so divided in all forms that there is no trust.
Not ignorance.
Not ignorance. Trust.
I don't agree.
Do you trust an Igbo man to become the president? Do you trust an Hausa man to remain the president? And when he goes there as the president, is he going to treat Kanayo the body way he treats Musa Wamba? No, because he's not giving me the same opportunity. Until we see ourselves the way our founding fathers, there was a way they looked at themselves at the time. If they are going on conference to arrest power from the colonial masters, they are going as one. And they go and come back. And then properly start to implement. That was why you saw the Tafawa Balewa, you saw the Ahmadu Bello, you saw the Zik, you saw the Opera. Those of them left the regions and went to the center. To do what? To be there, to be the eyes of their people. You see? So Opera was here. Ahmadu Bello was in the north and left Lagos for Tafawa Balewa. Okay? Awolowo, the same thing. So what they were doing then was a committee of people who understood that Nigeria was being built up to become a nationhood, and we lost it out after 3 years of nepotism. There was a cause for the army guys to come in. But that cause was not enough. You should have allowed them to tinker it for 10 years. Have we not tinkered for 20-something years? Have they come in now? Are they planning to come in? Or are they thinking of coming in?
All right, let me come to you. You said that it's for their selfish interest.
Yes.
I mean, the question Lajolo asked. But then again, do you think it's just their selfish interest, or are we also battling with foreign interference from the world powers?
Yes.
Because most of them, just like someone said this morning when we are having press review,
Yes.
that some of these people are the foreigners of the world powers.
Yes.
They don't want us to be developed. They don't want us to, be a producing country, because all the raw materials they come and extort from us, it wouldn't happen if we are using it here. So it could be that once you step into power, probably you have something in mind, you want to make the nation working again. But once you step there, they will come and tell you, these are the modalities, these are the way things should go, because it's for their own interest.
Okay, I'll give you a typical example. If you treat an elephant well, 50 years from today, when the elephant sees you, recognizes you, and will give you a hug. A leopard is a leopard, even if you feed him with your mother's breast milk. The day the leopard convinces himself that he's a leopard, he will devour you. The first issue is that we have not, as a nation, defined ourselves. You are whom you are because of your definition of whom you are. The first issue is Nigeria. What are we? What constitutes Nigeria? What makes you a Nigerian? Is it your tribe, your religion, your ethnicity? Those things have to be defined. As we speak, it's not defined. It's not defined. I can remember a former presidential aspirant was told that he came from Cameroon. And the evidences were there. The documents were there. And somebody was saying, yes, that his grandfather has migrated into Nigeria before the creation of Nigeria. And you begin to ask yourself, so those are issues. How do you become a Nigerian? And what makes you a Nigerian? Is it because I am a Igbo man, therefore I'm a Nigerian? It must be defined. Is it because by birth into a geographical location called Nigeria, I am a Nigerian? Those things has to be properly spelled out. Then we come back to the issue of nationhood. Because when you define who makes up a particular group, then you come back to how to build the group.
So when we define what makes you a Nigerian and why you are a Nigerian, it sinks into you. Then the issue of our national anthem, our national symbols begin to make sense to us. Because it doesn't make any sense now to be patriotic when you have not even known why you should be patriotic and what made you a Nigerian. If you stop 75% of Nigerians and ask them why are you a Nigerian, he doesn't even know.
No, he's born in Nigeria, so it's not Nigeria.
So he just found himself here.
Oh yeah. By
So
birth,
those things
Nigeria.
ought to be defined, properly defined.
But the area I'm
An
into-
American knows why he's American.
Well, the areas I'm
Properly
trying to-
clear,
yeah.
defined to him. He knows it. Are you getting me? So when we define what makes Nigeria, if you even take our constitution and study it properly, we discover that Nigeria, as we speak, is defined on the geographic location called Nigeria, is defined on the local governments, not even on the states. Yeah, not even on the states. So we have a lot of fundamentals that need to be put right. And let me tell you, nature itself will always check itself. You can see a pawpaw tree with a flower, so many flowers. At the point of fruiting, you may discover that you will have about 7. Midway, one will fall off. At the end, out of that 7, it may only be 3, and that 3 will be a pawpaw without defect. Why is it not inhuman? Have you ever asked yourself these questions? Why are we doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result? Why are we not refining and redefining ourselves to meet up the modalities of time?
That's why we are talking about restructuring.
Yes, if restructuring, I quote, as we are discussing, is on the basics, not secluding a particular thing.
Exactly.
Because when you seclude one out of, like the last confab was told in black and white in the open glare, that's XYZ area are not negotiable and should not be discussed. Then you begin to ask yourself, what are you restructuring? Because it may be the cause why the whole building is not standing. Houses are built on pillar. So when the pillar is not properly casted and the pillar cannot hold anything, no matter what you do around the building, you're wasting your time.
That is what I said. There's no trust in this country.
How can trust come when we are not? I'm not even agreed that me and you are Nigerians.
Yes,
So we must first agree that we are Nigerians.
Are there outside influence in this country? The answer is capital.
Because
yes.
the house is divided.
Okay, this answer is capital. Yes. The IMF determines our monetary policy. The Brentwood, even the sub-regional
ECOWAS.
the bank.
ECOWAS, the OAU, the whatever.
So those are the things. OAU doesn't, because if you look at the strength of all the currencies within the sub-region, they are stronger than Naira. As we speak now, Ghana cedi is stronger than Naira, and Nigerians are not even ashamed that 20 years back, that the Naira was so strong, challenging the dollar and pound and the euro. But today, all these countries that we thought their currency were toilet roll are now very strong. I was in Ghana last year. 100,000 Naira is about 1,400 cedis. By the time I left in 2 weeks, it came down to 1,390, and they keep dropping. So what are we now talking? The IMO, they are determining the currency flotation of this country. Look at what the president has done. He has allowed market forces to determine our Naira. When the oil has been properly mortgaged, we can't even meet the OPEC quota. When there's no production, there is no employment, taxes are not paid, because if I'm not working, how do I pay taxes for government to generate revenue? So these are the things that we are going through. And sometimes I wonder, where are those economists, those technical advisors that went to Harvard? If you are a Harvard student, if you went to London School of Economics, if you are from Yale, Columbia, you come back to your country, the effect must be felt.
We'll get back to the effect being felt when we come back. When we go on this short break. Please, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Restructuring of Nigeria is not the issue. The issue, you and me, let us obey the rule of law. Because if you restructure, there are still the people, the cabals will still maneuver it, manipulate it. That is the thing. So we must learn how to do something. If we agree that what is white is white, without looking faces, we start to live this way.
Tribalism is one of the most important things. So even if when you restructure the country, you do not kill that virus called tribalism, things will still be going wrong. So much power is at the center. That is the problem of Nigeria. You must decentralize the power to enable things work. This nation cannot survive under this present situation. We can never work.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transform every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days. Milo!
We're still talking about the state of the nation and the call for the renewed call for restructuring of Nigeria. We still have in the studio Ifeanyi Ogwebunam and then Kanayo Obidigbo. These are public affairs analysts that are here delving into the topic that we have this day. But then we begin to ask, restructuring, is it actually necessary, or is there a better time for us to call for that? Education, we are suffering, power, security, food, even good governance. Nothing seems to be working in this part of the country. And then we are asking, is it the best time to really restructure this country? And if I came up with the fact that Nigeria doesn't even need a structure, that we need to scrap everything, total overhaul, and then begin and probably know who we are and the nation. Then, before we went on the break, you were telling us about the influence of the foreign Western world, and then how low the Nigerian currency has really gone down as compared to other neighboring countries. Right. Please, can you tell us more on that?
Okay, like I rightly said, we are the giant.
We are still the giant.
No, we are no giant anyway.
Maybe
we claim to be the giant. Giant in size. We are now looking at our economic strength. Look at the living, the basic living standard of Nigerians is being threatened in the last 7 months. And when you go cross over to Cotonou here, Republic of Benin, Ejiakono, now turns to become a stronger nation. At a time when you go to Benin Republic, you find out from primary school to only one university they had then, and some other, 1 or 2 polytechnics, wears one single uniform. Once you see a pupil, you see a student, you see an undergraduate, do you know they are students? Uniform. Everybody. And then, the same Cotonou now is where our people now goes to do business. It's now where we are now doing indirect importation, because our wharf, our seaports are congested. Like he rightly said, we don't want to restructure. We don't want to open up Onitsha. We don't want to open up Uguta. We don't want to open up Calabar. We are leaving it concentrated in Lagos. I mean, if Singapore is living on vessels coming in and going, you understand what I'm saying, because they have a developed port. If Dubai became a free trade country in an Arab Emirate, and people are now going to Dubai, and in 30 years, we passed through Dubai. The place was like a desert. And today, look at the high rises. People, look at what is happening. So what I'm trying to say is that because Nigeria has refused to agree that we are one, if you want to start an industry and go to the Bank of Industry for loan, and you want to start it, now Managaoka, the outside guy who is there, I'm trying to be very factual, will tell you that you can't meet the condition, and you will not meet the condition. But if you want to start it in Kanranamoda, your condition will be met. For instance, when some of us were trying to go on service, people that read education were forcefully taken to Katsina, which was Kaduna State then, to go and teach everybody, because the guy there at the point is from Katsina. So if you say you are sick, you say when you are okay, come back and go and treat yourself. I will give you some leave of absence, but go and come back. So what I'm trying to say is that Nigeria, as it stands now, need restructuring, because when you look, when we are crying about the postings on our security personnel, you can see the effect. Here in Oka, women went naked for one police officer because the commissioner is a Yoruba man, the DC, a Yoruba man, the DSS, everybody. So people are saying no. Does it mean that we cannot have an Igbo commissioner of police in Anambra? It's only once he came and left from Umuahia, an Umuahia guy. Never. So what I'm trying to say is that restructuring must cost across board, whether we like it or not. Look at school fees. Look at JAMB intake. Look at admission into our universities. Look at unity schools. So,
I remember then you want to go to some schools. It's 90 points cut off.
Oh,
you go and read whatever study.
Thank you. So is that a country that will survive socio-economic forces?
These are less educational.
That is what I'm saying. But when Nigerians, when our great fathers were angling for the independence, they said they were not ready. Now they are too ready to take everything, which they have taken, whether we like it or not. In the next 8 years, an Igbo man is nowhere near Aso Rock. Is it proper? Before now, Zik was the president. Akwe Kapsini Anwaforuzo was the president of the Senate. The likes of Ojukus, they were all in the parliament. Ojuku's father was in the parliament. These are people who went there to do what? To structure Nigeria for us. And today, we have turned those things upside down. That was why Ifeanyi is saying, are we Nigerians at all? How do we determine who is a Nigerian?
All right, let's go back to Ifeanyi. Let's go back to Ifeanyi. Talking about restructuring. Let's use the word. I know you have a problem with that word, but let's keep using it. Talking about restructuring. Now, looking at the people at the helms of affairs in our country now, from their body language, you can see that they are not even interested in what we are talking about. It's just the citizen that is calling for this restructuring. But we keep crying and we keep talking to them. But peradventure, they finally agree to restructuring. And we see from all we have been outlining that we have a whole lot to do. It will not just take 1 year, 2 years for us to restructure and get things better. But I'm talking about the present reality, what we are facing now in the country. You see that some people cannot even boast of a meal in a day. So many people in this region, a meal in a day. Now, somebody suggested that while we are talking about or we are waiting for restructuring or to get things working and better in this country, why don't we have like a short-term
interim
things,
measures,
yes, interim measures that we can focus on and see how we can cushion the effects of whatever is happening on the poor masses. Somebody made mention of costs, high cost of governance.
Yeah.
How do we reduce it? And then what impact will it have on the general people, I mean the masses, the citizens of this country, if we delve into that?
Number one, the constitution of government, that's how government is constituted, is a constitutional issue. Where they said each state should have a minister, full stop. Whether he's a madman, an insane person or sane person is not defined. It's only in this country that you send names of ministers to the National Assembly for confirmation without putting possible portfolios. At least, square pegs should be arranged around a square hole. But here, we just send names, and then it's the prerogative of Mr. President to allocate positions. It's a constitutional issue. The federal character is a constitutional issue. So where do we start from? The basics. Because Mr. President, as of today, cannot say, I want to have 5 ministers. It's not possible.
The Constitution says that.
The Constitution says that this state must have a minister. Even when it is not needed, you must have to provide it. You must give them, it's their right.
Not even 1, 2.
Not
Because all the junior ministers are from states.
Yes, because first, the law says each state must have at least a minister.
Yeah.
You see where the whole problem is coming from. Now, if you want to do appointments, it's left for the prerogative of Mr. President or whoever that is in charge. It's not defined who becomes and why he should become. A minister of health should be a medical doctor, having got to this level, with this experience and exposure. It becomes very easy for the Pharaoh that does not know Joseph when he comes to sit, not to turn the table around. But these are not there. So it's now left for Mr. President to take decisions the way he can and the way he wants. Because there are no laid down principles and procedures. In civil service, they will say Gen 35. It's the grand norm upon which decisions about civil service are taken. There's a grand norm. The Constitution ought to be a grand norm. And when the Constitution is not a grand norm because the Constitution is defective, then what do you get? Those are the questions. So how do you cut? From what point? How? Where? That a National Assembly, each state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria must have a senator. Are you not going to remove the one from Mr. Okadibo's village not to be should I not have a senator? We must have a senator. That the 3 geopolitical zones in each state must have one senator. Beautiful, I don't have issues with it. Now, how did you define how the Senate will be constituted? Is it going to be a part-time Senate? Is it going to be a full-time Senate? Not defined. The same thing with, should we have bicameral or unicameral legislator? Not defined. And if we must have the two, we have to define what makes you one and how do you become one. Then, how do we sustain them? These are the issues. So as it is today, it's practically impossible for Mr. President to cut governance. It's not possible.
What about all the money? I mean, all the emoluments given to them, can't it be cut?
I'm coming.
No, money could be cut.
I'm coming. Now, when you go to the documents upon which governance, it says that if I travel 2 kilometers, I should earn 5,000.
Yes.
Now, those who travel at the top echelon, I've never seen a junior staff who went on travel. Those who run offices, who have overhead at the top echelon. The junior staff don't have overhead. These are issues. So, these are issues. Then, even when you ask the foreign interference, okay, you must know who you are. So that any information that comes, you assess it based on what will be good for me. A typical example. This is Oka, the city capital. Is it not? What is the most biting thing to an Oka man? Is development of Oka. Without hampering or touching the basic essence of the town called Oka. These are the issues. And today, what is happening?
But you cannot make an omelette without breaking the egg.
That's the question. The second question comes, the egg and the omelette, which one comes first? Are you sure? Who laid the egg? Who laid the egg?
It comes first.
You said the egg and the omelette.
Ellen, yes.
No, I said the egg and the chicken. Who comes first? Okay. Now the egg and the chicken, which one comes first? So the issue is, we must come back to the basics of our existence. The basics of how we congregate to become a nation. Then we come to the issue of nationhood. We build the nationhood we expect. So that when the foreign interference comes, you place it on the concept of our nationhood and accept those who want to accept and reject those who, and when you are rejecting it, you are citing a stand upon which you reject it. But if, another example, You go to the House of Assemblies and National Assemblies, where they make votes on issues without recourse to the constituents who sent them there. And I was discussing with somebody one day, he told me that by voting them in, we have given them power to take decisions.
Mandate, yes.
We have given them a mandate.
Of course.
You say that high cost of governance is not an issue.
No, it is.
It is an issue,
Oh my
but
God.
the solution is very difficult because even Mr. President, Orosaye report is there. Orosaye report says you should cut down some ministries. And I ask,
Match them together.
if you match them, these ministries are headed by ministers. Now,
Therefore,
if each state must have a minister, invariably we must have 36 ministers.
ministries.
36 ministries.
Yes.
At least.
Uh-huh.
Now, the same law does not end it there that it must be only 36. He also allows Mr. President the impetus to stay
Appoint
Then
junior
those
ministers.
people advising Mr. President should advise him, and
It's a constitutional issue.
No, you say at least one, so he can deal with 36
Of
or
course.
37
Of
because
course.
we have FCT,
Yes.
so he can deal with that.
One.
Why would we have Minister of Education, Minister
of State.
Education?
That's what I'm telling you now. You have a pharaoh who knows Joseph and a pharaoh who does not know Joseph.
And this is a ministry where you have directors,
So
assistant
the
directors.
question is,
I'm saying-
see, what I'm trying to say is that you define issues before the arrival of the operators. I've never seen where in the middle of a match you change goalposts. So what I'm saying is the present National Assembly should look at those hanging fruits within our constitutions that we can tackle and deal with. An instance is this issue. Tell it that it must be only 36 ministers.
We have
and
to-
any president that wants to go contrary to that.
We have
So
to,
with that,
we have to cut down the number of representatives.
Yes, and
Those are the issues.
that is being given to them.
those are the issues. I said,
How can
no
Bayelsa-
hanging fruits.
Bayelsa, with about 13 local governments,
Produce three senators.
senators and House of Rep members.
By their local government.
Okay? And Anambra State, with 21 local government.
And the high density.
And very high density area, produced 3 senators and 15 House of Rep members.
That's why I was very specific. I said those low hanging
Kanu.
fruits.
Kano State, 4. And when you look at what FAC gives them on monthly basis, you find out that Kano State doubles what Anambra takes as a state in Nigeria. Why? So when I look at the way Nigeria is being, administered, you find out that not only that it is faulty, we are wicked.
Okay.
Wicked in the sense that if you know that you are a Nigerian and a Nigerian child does not go to school, as we speak now, do you know the percentage of people who did not even go to school, not to talk of those who are out of school, as we speak now?
And it's an increase.
More than 70 million Nigerians have missed out in the school, out of 210 or 220. And these are energetic workforce of this country in that demography. And they are not in the school. They are not being trained. And you tell me that criminality will stop. How? It will not.
Okay, quickly before we round up, please, in just a few sentences, restructuring of this country, is it feasible? Is it in any way possible? Even if we're going to be needing a torchlight or like a searchlight in the tunnel?
Yes, it's possible. If and only if we decide within ourselves, like I said in the intro, to declare a national day of confession.
Confession.
Yes, we own up that we are all responsible. And stop this issue of bulk passing. It is.
Former administration,
Those things are not necessary. What is important is how do we move from point A to point B, irrespective of who brings the best brain, irrespective of the geopolitical zone, whatever reason, provided this person's advice will move us from point A to point B.
All right, so there's no need for breakaway.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not against breakaway. Because, no. Yes, I am not. Because I'm coming. Because when peaceful coexistence is impossible.
All right.
So now,
to add to what you have to say, I know you want to say something, but I just want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Now, now we are talking about restructuring.
Yes.
If we must win this fight, and
Yes.
then if our leaders must listen and do something about it, what should be our role as citizens? And then again, the civil society organization and probably the international community.
Thank
How
you.
are they coming and
You see,
that
you see,
restructuring?
there's a problem in this country. Our struggle is a struggle that starts and stops. When South Africans were in apartheid, the struggle never stopped. Their Mandela was in prison, and they continued to agitate until they were able to produce a South African president. What am I trying to say? The people of this country must be determined to step on the gas. When America says step on the gas, march do accelerator. Oburo no agitation. They must be consistent with agitation. The civil society, we, in fact, Nigerians. I remember one of the presidential candidates in last election said, "Now, an Hausa man will buy bread, 1,000 naira. An Igbo man will buy bread, 1,000 naira. All in different locations of the country, no difference." Is it not happening now? So the issue is that until we see ourselves as Nigerians that are on the receiving end of this punishment, because this is a punishment, what we have lacked is that we have lacked visionary leaders. We have a deficit of visionary leaders. We don't have them. All we have done is to
Recycle
expended
and expired
when I mean recycle, I mean recycling people who are beat up with avarice in them. People who want to accumulate wealth, they don't know what to do with it. That is what is going on in this country. And not until there is a good governance introduced, promoted,
sustained
by the people.
All right. Well, on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us. Ifani Ogunebunam, thank you so much for being here this morning.
And the Anambra obu no kuku bolo onu no bolo omume. Man ije bidogo. Man obu no million agbasa na okute. Man echi ya kanjo.
So, Uchasin is not Mechasin.
That is the question.
All right, thank you so much, Kanaya, for being here this morning. And for me, Chidima Oram, I want to say thank you for joining us on our Breakfast TV show this Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the rest of your week.
And I'm wishing you the very best of the week.
My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up. To return home, this transform every day.
Your champs need